Hello and welcome back to yet another Geek Show, our first spotlight of the year. Alex just made a crazy face at me because he wasn't expecting me to start.
Usually I
changing
started,
it up.
Yeah.
New decade, new me.
Living your best life.
Who dis?
Living your best life. I'm your host,
Gotta
Alex
go
Ecker.
fast. Did I say my name?
You interrupted me. I'm your host, Alex Ecker.
I'm your host, Dalton Lee.
So, being the first spotlight of the year, we can't obviously start it off without it being Sonic the Hedgehog.
So I went to see Sonic the Hedgehog at Sonic the Hedgehog. And we haven't talked about this at all. I have no earthly idea what you think.
And I have no earthly idea of what you think.
And I'm excited.
Absolutely. So indulge us, guys. We are going to express our opinions together here. Just me and the good old boy over here to have a heart-to-heart for a minute.
Do we want to start spoiler free?
Sure. Yeah, we could we could start spoiler free. But
okay, like 5 minutes of spoiler free here.
Yeah. So Dalton, I actually really enjoyed.
That's Dalton the Hedgehog.
Dalton
to you,
Dalton the
buddy.
Echidna. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
Okay.
Like I actually really did like it. I don't love it, but I really like it.
Sure. So let's back up a tiny bit and say, if you guys haven't seen our spotlights on the Genesis games, I have a stronger connection to this franchise than Alex. I mean, Alex also played them, but I never stopped.
Them, yeah.
I never stopped playing them. I like these games more than I should. Even going up through, past the 2D era, I've been through the highs and lows, mostly lows. And I'd say I was a little more invested in this being good. I also didn't have any expectations or hope of it being good. And I will say it exceeded my expectations. It's still bad.
Hold on. It exceeded your expectations, but yet you had none.
My expectations were that it was bad.
Okay.
And it exceeded those, which can still put it on the level of bad in that it's not an utter tire fire. There are redeemable qualities.
Yeah. I guess I'm on the same wavelength as you. It's
the most middling thing I could possibly talk about.
I enjoyed it because I was expecting it to be bad.
Sure.
And that maybe it makes my impression of it a little stronger, but I actually I did have a good time watching it. With definite criticizing points, but I don't want to be all negative like you over there. You're like, hashtag not my hedgehog. Fucking.
Okay, let's see how detailed we can get before jumping into spoilers.
Spoilers start
but
now.
I would say, oh, fine, okay. I guess our non-spoiler was just, it was okay.
Yeah.
Bad-ish, okay-ish, I guess. Sorry, okay, moving on. Spoilers. What they got right is Sonic himself.
Absolutely.
The redesign is phenomenal. The only thing, the only really significant change from what we're used to is that they technically turned his one solid eyeball into two, but they still kind of harkened back to it and made it feel okay by having that little patch of white fur between the two eyes that creates a similar visual effect. And I imagine that improved the animation substantially, not having to worry about how the hell do you animate this conjoined double pupiled eyeball.
Right.
So whatever, the design's great. He looks great. I feel, even though the movie's not great, I feel good about rewarding the studio for going back and fixing this.
Absolutely.
I like having delivered that message that audience feedback matters and that, sometimes you should just listen to us and realize you're making a train wreck before you put out the train wreck.
Yeah.
I could not imagine, like, wow. Speaking of tire fires, that sentence, I could not in a million years imagine this movie having worked with that previous design.
Yeah, no.
In that, notice the big thing I'm saying they got right was Sonic himself. Mm-hmm. So if you butcher his design, off to a bad start there. But I think they got his personality spot on. And I think, was it Ben Schwartz? Is that his name?
The voice actor?
He was phenomenal. I think it'd be cool if he started voicing him in the games. I think he nailed it. And Sonic has, he hasn't had one consistent voice actor all these years, but he's had a particular tone, a particular style.
Yeah.
And I think he nailed it. And he nailed it while being a better voice actor than most of the people that have done the role before.
Yeah, certainly.
So kudos there. As for like his personality, this weird, like, a kind of plot device of him being lonely because he's an alien hiding on Earth. Like that's new. That's not a side of Sonic that I know. Nonetheless, it is a plot device, and he won't be like that in the next movie. And outside of that, just in terms of the way he talked and his sorry about my distraction. I thought Reaper screwed up and wasn't recording. We're good. I got to remember to edit that out now.
Yes, you do.
What was I talking about?
Plot device with the echidnas.
But other than that weird little change, that's just a plot device. I think his personality spot on, his voice is spot on. I have no complaints about the character himself.
No.
Do you have any more commentary specifically on Sonic himself?
Specifically on Sonic himself, I remember thinking that Child Sonic is pretty cute. He's pretty cute. He's goofy.
Which further begs the question, what the hell did the original design version of that look like?
Right.
How could they have ever sold that off as cute?
Right, exactly. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it makes, like...
And again, spoilers here, what did Tails look like?
Yeah. I picture the Crack Fox from The Mighty Boosh, because it was the meme with the old Sonic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they... Look, I honestly have no interest in ever seeing the movie again, but if the special features on disc include more footage of the originals, and if it includes Baby Sonic, and if it includes Tails, I'll buy that shit on UHD Blu-ray, and I'll buy copies for friends.
Yeah. Which count me in for that.
I need that in my life. Like last year when I don't remember if it was on the show or not, or just in casual conversation, but when they announced they were fixing the design, I said that I was a little disappointed because if this becomes just a slightly bad movie instead of a tire fire, well, that makes it less fun.
Yeah.
And now I kind of want that more fun utter disaster of a movie, because this is just forgettable.
It is, like, I will admit it is a forgettable movie, but it feels more like an origin story than like actual Sonic, of course, because that's how they set it up. I'm not a fan of, because, well, you might know this more than me, the echidnas hunting down Sonic. That was never a thing.
Okay, so that doesn't ring a bell to me, like as a part of his existing history, but actually I'm going to cut off talking about that segment. We're going to come back to that segment because the echidnas aren't named characters. I want to continue with named characters for the moment.
We'll move on.
So Robotnik.
Okay. So I remember talking about this either in conversation or on air. I wasn't so sure about Jim Carrey because, I mean, it's not to discredit Jim Carrey because he's a good actor, But when he's playing a comedic role, it feels like he's not playing that role. He's just being Jim Carrey.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, I was pleasantly surprised at how he treated the role. Like it wasn't terrible. There were definitely Jim Carrey moments, but it wasn't just Jim Carrey. You know what I mean? Like there were certain parts of the movie where I'm like, oh shit, he's actually like doing this well. Like, like the evil threatening bits, like those were actually really good. There's the ones
I think he could have done a serious approach if he was asked to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if you look at like the later Sonic games, like I want to say it's like Sonic, is it Sonic Colors? Eggman has more of a comedic approach in certain dialogue, and from like then on, he's a little more comedic.
Yeah, because I don't remember, like, as campy as Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 are, yeah, I don't remember him being overly jokey or anything.
Yeah, it was the later games where they brought it a little more.
He was as intense as he could be for the plot of a child's video game, I suppose. So
yeah, and I mean, it feels like Robotnik, since the adventure games, has kind of gotten a little more jovial with certain aspects. And if we're like looking at that canon of Eggman's history, I think Jim Carrey did very well. You know, a lot of people like for instance, my wife was like, I thought Eggman was a heavier set guy, and I'm thinking, if you look at original like video game concepts, that is physically impossible to recreate without it looking awful.
I mean, yeah, he's literally a ball.
Yeah, he's literally an egg
in the originals, and they kind of slow down on how much they're exaggerating that. He's always a heavy guy, but it's more or less exaggerated depending on the property. I don't really care that this is a skinny Robotnik or Eggman, because I don't consider that part of his personality.
Right, exactly.
In terms of the aesthetic, though, because I was thrilled with Sonic's aesthetic, he kind of... They do the thing where he doesn't start out as Eggman. He ends the movie.
Yeah, it's not the sort of
Eggman
common appearance that we know him as.
And we all knew they were going to do that.
I do have.
Well, actually, the trailers showed that. The trailers showed the final shot of him ending up that way.
Which I'm gonna jump into spoiler territory here again. When you see him in the Mushroom World, when he's yelling and screaming to himself, I forgot I wasn't listening to a voice actor. He actually started to sound like the like Robotnik Eggman like voice.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, okay, I can definitely see this working out in a second movie.
Yeah.
Now
I wish though, you're kind of getting to my biggest problem with the movie overall. I'm skipping over every other named character because no other named character matters, frankly. So you're leading into my bigger problem here, which is that there are things they're doing right, which are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And those things are the Green Hill Zone and the Mushroom Hill Zone. And everything in between there is a mistake because they didn't just lean into it. Like the beginning and the ending were the most leaning into, this is Sonic. This is an adaptation of a Sonic game. Let's make a goddamn Sonic movie. But no, they teased the ability to make an incredible Sonic movie at the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
And then in the middle, they're like, oh, let's just make for the millionth time a new version of Garfield or Alvin and the Chipmunks or Hop or Yogi Bear.
Yeah.
Just another one of those.
Okay. I see where you're going. Cause like in the 2D games, it wasn't really Earth. It was more, you know, a fantasy world. Whereas like in the Sonic Adventure games, they did introduce actual people.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you look across, like,
there are
Sonic's
games
history, like with
there are games where Sonic exists on Earth and interacts with other people, and it makes sense that there are other people because Robotnik's always been there and he's a people. So fine, but overwhelmingly that's the case in the bad games.
Okay.
Look, I purely out of nostalgia and not out of an actual sense that they are good, adore Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you're adapting something that the story is very minor and insignificant. It's all about the iconography. It's all about translating the awesome visuals and the awesome music. And you don't adapt the visuals by picking the parts of the franchise that are Earth.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Like show me the chemical plant.
Okay, I do see where you're coming from, but I mean,
or even like the adventure movies did end up in space and including alien life forms and there's missions through like a pyramid that's secretly a rocket base. There's visually interesting things. There's like levels that take place in awesome like jungles that you get to by traveling through this cave, and it's not a highway.
Let me stop.
There's a city hub world, but they're not highways.
Because like you mentioned this kind of stuff with like the pyramid being like a secret rocket base. This is still an origin story for Robotnik's character as well as Sonic. I'm not defending the movie for not,
sure.
Like it is definitely picking and choosing. But even then, like what I was trying to say earlier was if you go back into like Sonic's actual like comic book history and stuff, he had a girlfriend that was a human. He had a band. You know what I mean? Like they're not
anything with humans that aren't Robotnik though is a later addition. For a long time, Sonic and his games and his whole world is Planet Mobius.
Right.
So yeah, like these realistic locations and elements are there, but like we adapted it in the form of some dude's house, some small town, some highway, a bar. Like there was exciting stuff still happening. There were still cool set pieces in the games when they were on something recognizable as Earth. And so I get it. They made this an origin story, not just for Sonic, but for Robotnik. And so they're not leaning hard enough into it. But like, that's my point, is we could have just already been there.
Yeah, I do see what you're saying.
The games don't,
because I mean,
do an origin where we're just on plain boring old Earth.
Quite frankly, Sonic doesn't really need an introductory story. He's been around for what now, almost 30 years, longer. So yeah, I do completely agree. Like we really don't need an origin story. There's plenty of media like comic books or video games or, general lore.
Well, and for what origin there is, it's not here's who he is and here's why he's on Earth now. It's here's this character you already know. Do you want to see some images of his childhood? Like,
right. Was the Alan
not really an origin?
Was the owl an actual character?
I don't recognize the owl.
Okay. That was something I did have questions
but I loved the echidnas because
they looked good.
Even though they were in the Green Hill Zone, which is unusual, that's new. They looked great.
Yeah.
For one, it was visually stunning. Green Hill Zone was visually stunning. And it was pulling something out of deeper Sonic lore, and it wasn't just like here's Knuckles and he happens to be an echidna. It was here's a tribe of them, and tribes of echidna are a thing, and it's a great part of the adventure games. And so like it was cool to see them actually dive into something meaningful and a bit deeper than just recognizing the blue guy.
Right, exactly. Now that being said though, like with what they did as far as like Sonic, Like if you're just looking at the movie and not the other lore, like it's kind of like a Marvel movie where like they'll put in little things for like the strongly inclined fans to find and understand and decipher.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like if you didn't know who the echidnas were, it still made sense.
Yeah.
Like there was well, obviously there has to be plot.
They could have been anything. The point
Exactly.
was something's chasing Sonic.
Yeah. And I lost my whole train of thought. Okay. This is what it was. For what they did for Sonic inside this movie, I feel it is sound. Like I felt like the character relation between what's the actor's name? Was it James Marsden who played Tom Wachowski? I feel like their relationship was...
Who's great, by the way. It's just that it's a forgettable character. I love James Marsden, and he did fine, but anyone could have done this.
Right. I like what they did, like inside this like small little universe so far with Sonic, but only because the way it was directed. Like him not having really any human interaction with anybody, or well, physical interaction with anybody. Like the scene where they're in the hotel and he sees Marsden's character put ice on his face, and he's just mimicking him because he doesn't know what it's really doing. Yeah, you know, like I appreciated that sort of thing where it was like, oh, hey, so this is what you do with this. You know what I mean? Like him trying to understand the world that he's never been introduced to. Like the things like that I did really appreciate. Another thing that I really did appreciate too, the fact that they showed off that Sonic is not strong. He's fast. That's it. Like the joke of hurl your body at it and destroy it. Like I thought that was pretty funny. The bar fight scene when he like goes super fast and just does the rabbit punches on the dude's face and it doesn't do shit. Like I thought that scene was hysterical because like Sonic in every game just kills everything with one hit. But until you think about it, no, he's just throwing his body at him. He's just using himself as a cannonball. He's not like punching them out of existence. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It was an interesting joke.
Yeah.
Since you just mentioned the bar, and maybe I'm jumping around a little here, but I fucking hated the slow-mo bar scene.
It did drag.
Just in terms of, well, it dragged, but I'm also complaining that in between the beginning being very Sonic-like and the end being very Sonic-like, all this stuff in the middle just being so boring and so derivative and just being every other kids movie, every other here's an animated character in a live action world movie. Yeah. They took a break to rip off Days of Future Past and do the exact scene that Quicksilver had 6 years ago. Yeah. But worse.
Yeah. I mean, the only things I really appreciated out of the bar fight scene were the joke of Sonic not being strong. Because, like, you can't throw... Oh, it had a Knuckles hat.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! Yes. It had a fucking Knuckles hat.
Yes, I did mean to bring that up.
Yeah,
I don't know if we'll ever know if that was intentional.
Right, but my point with that was,
for those who didn't hear the previous episode, what we're talking about is the previous Sonic movie, which is the Sonic the Hedgehog OVA from the 90s. Knuckles inexplicably wears a cowboy hat the whole time, and it's fucking great. Yeah. And Sonic's wearing the hat here, and I don't actually know if it's an intentional reference or not, but it's fantastic.
Oh, it's fucking wonderful.
We thought we were joking when we said that the quality of this movie hinged entirely on Knuckles hats. I didn't think it was a real possibility.
Oh shit! Yeah, why did I not put two and two together until just now? But my point I was going with was, they could have did it a different way to implicate those jokes with anything else. You know what I mean? It could have been during the chase scene with Robotnik's machines, but because how are you going to convince people that you're a human being by just putting on a Knuckles hat and a button down? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's cartoon logic, which is why at the end of the day, I guess what I'm really saying when I say that this movie should have just been the beginning and the end, that it should have been Green Hill Zone and Mushroom Hill Zone and whatever other zones they needed to form a coherent plot. I guess what I'm really saying is this should have never been a live action movie. There should have been a live action Jim Carrey on top of a CG movie.
Okay, I see what you're getting at. And yeah,
my skepticism when they announced this movie years and years ago, my skepticism was never, oh, they're making a Sonic movie. It was, they're making a Sonic movie and it's live action.
Yeah.
Why are we going the Sonic Adventure route and not the Sonic Genesis route where all the interesting iconography comes from?
Yeah. And I mean, still going on to that plot with the live action, I liked the character development between James Marsden's character and Sonic, like I said, but James Marsden's character felt like he had little to no point. Like, as far as like his story in the movie, like, oh, hey, I'm a cop and I got to go to California. He could have just been wearing the T-shirt and then that would have been the plot. You know what I mean? Like, there was no reason to build his character.
Yeah. And I mean, are Sonic and Robotnik the only meaningful named characters here because they're the only characters actually pulled out of existing Sonic media? It seems like the person writing this movie and deciding to make it this weird buddy adventure thing, it feels like they don't understand that it's 2020 and we're okay with ridiculous concepts on film, and Sonic the Hedgehog is not a ridiculous, silly idea. Like, we just got done praising Avengers 3 and 4 to bits for all their over-the-top comic bookiness and being fantastic. And it's like they thought we were back in the early 2000s and this was still a weird niche new idea. And they thought we needed a perspective character, that we couldn't just follow Sonic. We needed a human character to view him through.
Right.
Which we, of course, don't need. He's a character with little to no story from the early 90s.
Right, exactly. I don't know, man. It's like I don't necessarily hate this movie, but it's not something that like I care to own. It's so, I don't know. There is something missing, and I feel like it is more lore, and I think you're right on that. I do hope that this movie does get a sequel, because I would be interested to see where it goes. Like,
absolutely,
especially with like end credit scene of Tails, because Tails looked fucking, like, honestly looked better than Sonic.
Yeah,
and
yeah, Tails looks great.
It does crack me up, because like as we talked about earlier with the character designs, I am genuinely curious. I noticed that they changed a line from the trailer that they did in the movie. The missile scene, when like they do the Quicksilver thing again. He's like, oh my god, look at my watch. I got 10,000 steps in today. And I'm so glad they got rid of that line, because it felt so stupid.
Oh god, the product placement.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus, I almost forgot this. I just got major Power Rangers movie vibes. Although I liked it in the Power Rangers movie because it was hilarious.
It was funny.
The mentions here of Olive Garden and Zillow and IKEA. Yeah. Not funny. Like,
no.
Wildly pulled me out of the movie. Like, yeah. My problem with, I dislike things happening that just snap me right out of a movie and remind me that, like,
that your shitty life still exists.
that reminds me that this is a movie made by people and cobbled together with investors in the background telling them what to do. Like, when you just go name dropping Zillow like that, like people talk like that, you just pulled me out of the movie to say, oh, hey, by the way, Zillow put some money into this movie.
Which,
you're welcome.
How did they even begin to, you know what I mean? Like, hey,
is that why there was this moving out of the town plot? Did it start with
maybe
they looked for product placement opportunities, and Zillow was like, oh, hey, we'll toss you $30.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, oh, okay, we got to figure out how to put Zillow in here. Let's make the plot revolve around some named human character no one gives a shit about.
Yeah.
Moving,
right.
I guess. Thanks.
Oh, fuck, that's funny. Oh, man.
Just at least Power Rangers did me the service of making it funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
They leaned into it hard by making Krispy Kreme an actual plot point, like a meaningful one, not, oh, this guy wants a donut, but, oh, this is where the MacGuffin is. We need to get to Krispy Kreme.
Can we talk about probably another elephant in the room in here?
Okay.
Sonic's lightning.
Okay.
I have no clue if that was an actual thing in the actual lore or what. Like,
I think the idea is just that's something that would happen if he moved fast enough.
Like just kinetic energy kind of thing.
Yeah, and like his speed is wildly inconsistent in every form of media. Like in Green Hill Zone in the beginning, he's like, oh, I can travel the whole planet in 2 seconds. And I'm like, well, then why am I watching you?
He said the whole island in 2 seconds.
Duh. Yeah. Okay, so why am I spending like 2 whole minutes watching you get across this island?
So that way they could just spend the budget a little more.
Yeah, and then things like, if you consider the speed he would have to be able to move at for those like Quicksilver movements of everything else freezing in place. Or like that thing where like what did he do? He like stepped out of the car and raced off to like the ocean and then came back in a split second. Like all of a sudden a bunch of other scenes just don't make sense when like it kind of just breaks a whole universe.
That's fair.
When you make a character that fast. Like the scene at the end that's actually really cool of him destroying whatever boss vehicle Eggman's, well, I guess the movie calls him Robotnik's
the egg carrier point one.
Driving at the end there, like that sequence of him destroying it by just beating the shit out of it with his face. Like, it's awesome. It's badass. It harkens back to the video games. It's totally an actual thing. It's taking the visual elements that we already know and like from the franchise and putting it on film.
Yeah.
But that scene, if the character moves that fast, it should have been one single bash.
Well,
it should have been one single motion too fast for us to see. He's moving like many times past the speed of light doing that. It should be one single motion destroys the vehicle. So you're never going to get a consistent representation of what a speed character can do.
Speaking of representation, if the science behind Sonic's lightning was kinetic energy, he was completely out fucking cold before he woke up and had all the lightning around him. So are they trying to give him like a superpower on top of being super fast? Like, you know what I mean?
Are you asking if the lightning's supposed to be like its own
Super
ability
Saiyan kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like that's what it kind of felt like to me, because like I could see him like moving so fast that like, I don't know, he hits a telephone pole and destroys like a city block, not the whole northwestern coast. Yeah. You know? But then I mean, I wouldn't overthink
it. I wouldn't overthink it. I think of like the Flash, who is referenced in this movie. Like,
Yeah.
his power is not lightning, but he does make lightning when he runs, and his symbol is a lightning bolt, and he's called the Flash. And it's the idea is that he just has so much energy that it releases in the form of lightning. So
Does that mean that DC invested money in this movie?
was that intentional product placement?
They were like, hey, hey, Sega, speaking of your new movie, we got a couple new movies coming out soon. You wanna you wanna be our friend? We make shitty movies too.
Please be good, please be good.
I mean, like I said, the less I think about it, the more I do enjoy the movie. With exceptions, like we both went into this, and you know, our expectations were low, and we were somewhat pleasantly surprised for the most part. You know, but I don't know. I would be interested in seeing a sequel. I think I've kind of.
I'm hoping that a sequel would disregard the elements that I don't like.
Yeah,
which is a realistic Earth, and that it would just mostly be what we saw at the beginning and the end of this movie. If the sequel means Sonic and Tails and maybe Knuckles in a crazy adventure with the more accurate ending rendition of Robotnik through crazy alien worlds, then like I'm all for that.
Now, I will throw this out there. I wouldn't be upset if they turned the majority of the sequel into a CGI film with voice acting.
I'm begging for them to do that. Exactly that.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I think, at the end of the day, where my criticisms come down to is that they remembered to make it a Sonic movie at the very beginning and the very end, and they kind of forgot in the middle. And that's not to say that there's not like Easter eggs in there.
Yeah. Like
they did like turn the rings into a plot point. The rings do make sound effects from the games.
Yes.
Things like he never really does a spin dash, but he does turn into a ball and roll down the stairs.
Yeah. Sort of like in the final
him
fight.
attacking by throwing his body into a thing. Like that's right out of the game.
Like the final fight seemed like a homing attack.
The
overture
that's
of the Green
definitely
Hill
the
Zone.
homing attack.
At the end with
Robotnik's drones are out of the video games too.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're right.
His vehicles. They're not adaptations of specific vehicles, but like Robotnik in a cockpit of a crazy military machine, like that's a thing,
right? Exactly.
And it's there, and it's cool, but it's kind of surface level through the whole middle of the film.
Yeah.
And hopefully the sequel, which they haven't announced yet, but will certainly happen because this is making money. Hopefully the sequel will expand on the things it's getting right.
Please tell me that we'll get a GIF of Sonic instead of just the drawing the homeless dude had.
Oh, okay. There was a moment that you just reminded me I want to talk about, and it's not Sonic, which was hilarious, but it's not that. There's a moment before Robotnik has seen Sonic, and he's at his like crazy computer setup, and he's analyzing the footprint, and he's saying that it can determine approximately what this creature should look like. And it was the biggest fucking missed opportunity. I thought for sure this was going to go here. He was talking about knowing what the creature looked like. Why did they not turn the camera and show the original CG Sonic design on a fucking screen? I thought for sure they were going there, and I was furious that they didn't. It was so obvious. It was right there.
Oh man, missed opportunity.
Imagine it. I would have lost my goddamn shit. You've already seen the good Sonic. You know that they got him down. You know he's good. And Robotnik, this silly villain who like, okay, he does successfully create a Death Star, so he is actually intimidating, but he's also a doofus despite his 300 IQ.
Yeah.
Like this guy, this I don't know, this genius buffoon. I don't know. It's a weird, he's a strange creature. Anyway, this character talking about this brilliant, software he made analyzing the footprint. He just says, it looks like this and that and this, and here's the rendered image. And then you show the shitty version. Like, it's right there.
I'm waiting for the sequel.
It would have been the best joke of the movie.
I'm waiting for the sequel to have Shadow and put up a wanted poster with like a sketch of what they think the criminal is, and it's the original Sonic design.
You faker.
I'll make you eat those words.
Oh man, if the next one has a plot revolving around
Knuckles
Chaos
hats.
Emeralds, maybe the Chaos Emeralds have to be found in different zones.
That would be cool.
And it gives us a reason to explore the aquatic ruins and Marble Zone and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's like a montage, as long as it's like, you know what I mean? If it's appreciating the environment that we grew to love as kids, like that would be awesome.
Yeah. So to elaborate on it, just forgetting to include all these things we love about Sonic in there, I'm going to point out that the music, barely touched on anything Sonic. Like, Sonic is a franchise known for its music. Yeah. I think all we got
just the Green Hill
got
Overture.
A piano rendition of Green Hill Zone near the end,
which it was honestly really cool, but maybe they were going for a less is more route with it as far as the music goes.
Yeah.
That could be entirely possible, but it would have been nice to hear a little more homage to the original music, I think.
Yeah, and maybe the mistake was, oh, whoops, we decided to set this all on boring old Earth on a long highway. How are we going to squeeze the chemical plant theme into this?
Well, I got this road trip montage on Spotify.
Yeah. And so it's just all kinds of licensed music.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't want licensed music all over my Sonic movie. And frankly, in between all the poorly used licensed music, I think licensed music almost never works. Guardians of the Galaxy is the only example coming to mind of it consistently working.
That's fair.
Licensed music was also one of the worst parts of Suicide Squad. Anyway, between all the licensed music in this movie, I don't remember what the actual original score sounded like.
Of the movie?
And that's a problem for a piece of Sonic media. Yeah. It has now been 3 days since we both watched the movie, so maybe I would have had an idea leaving the theater, but right now I could not tell you what the music sounded like in this movie, and that's a problem because we're musicians, and I don't know about you, but when I'm watching a movie, I go out of my way to notice the music and think about what the composer's doing, and I forgot to notice the music in this movie.
I think because you were too busy going, why the fuck didn't we stay in Green Hill Zone?
This movie sucks, but man, that first 5 minutes.
And the last 5 minutes, man.
In the last 5 minutes, man.
I mean, like, I will stick to my opinion. I really did enjoy it for what it was. And I'm looking forward to a sequel. I'm not necessarily excited unless they make me excited with the trailer.
It's like, I feel like it's bad, but it still managed to get to a place where it leaves me wanting the sequel. And there have certainly been bad movie adaptations that haven't made me feel that way.
It's doing
when
what
I
the
saw
Power Rangers
Batman
trailer did
versus
to us.
Superman. Yeah, when I saw Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice, I did not leave that wanting to see Justice League.
Right.
I left that wanting that universe burned to the ground and wanting to start all over. And that's not what I have here. But like, after seeing this, I wasn't like, no more, we're good. And I wasn't like, try again in 5 years. I was like, no, give me the sequel to this one. I see where this might be going.
Yeah.
If they make the right choices.
Right, exactly. It did, like I said, it did exactly what the Power Rangers trailer did to us, where we were like, Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just think maybe we should continue this if there's a sequel. I think I'm good about talking about this movie now.
Okay, I have one more nitpick.
Oh, here we go.
And I don't know if you noticed this. I don't even want to. I'm calling it a nitpick in that it doesn't really affect the overall quality of the movie, but it's a nitpick in that it's me noticing a lack of attention and detail from the people behind the movie, because the small town that James Marsden's character lives in and wants to get out of. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the name of this town?
Green Hills.
Alex? Do you see the problem with that?
Yes.
That they made
this
cutesy little reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now,
they still made this cutesy little reference after they showed us the actual Green Hill Zone.
Yeah, absolutely I do.
Like, they didn't name it. We saw it and they didn't name Green Hill Zone. And we saw Mushroom Hill Zone, and I think they just called it the Mushroom Planet. So they didn't use the names there. But still, don't show me Green Hill Zone and then name the place where it takes place Green Hills.
Yeah, unless they were only doing...
Green Hills would have been cute if they weren't including the actual Green Hill Zone. Like if you know you're not going to use Chemical Plant, then go ahead and find a way to squeeze in, like, I work at the Chemical Plant. Like, that's cutesy if you're not screwing up your attempt to actually use this thing.
Okay, that's fair. Unless that was the island from the Sonic OVA.
Planet Freedom Planet, whichever one.
Planet Freedom.
I get the two mixed up.
Yeah, Freedom Planet's the game.
Yeah, okay. Planet Freedom's the planet. Yeah, I guess, since they didn't name it.
Yeah.
But it's just a lack of attention to detail. I feel like the middle of the movie got written first, and they were like, Green Hills, that's cute. Mm-hmm. And sure. But then someone was like, we should probably open this with like the Green Hill Zone, huh? And then just no one pointed out that it was already in the script.
Yeah, that's fair. Unless Green Hills is referring to Green Hill Zone 2.
Oh, so, I'm good. I don't have anything else.
Yeah, I think we're done going fast.
Yeah, in summary, like, I don't know, I still think it's bad. I still think it's lazy, but they got enough elements of Sonic himself right. Like, the story sucks, but they got parts of Sonic himself right enough that I am looking forward to a sequel that could be good.
Yeah. As far as an origin story, it's okay. But if the sequel blows my mind, I'll be okay with it.
If they pay attention to the criticism they're getting now, then the next one could be great. And to be fair, they've now demonstrated a willingness to take criticism and fix it.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we already know they're listening. Hi, Sega.
How are you? I rate this movie 2.5 Knuckles hats out of 5.
You know what?
We don't actually give ratings. I just wanted to say that.
I'll give it 3 Knuckles hats out of 5. Because you deducted 0.1 for every nitpick. Oh, shit.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Gotta go fast.